49, right? We're going to start in Gates of Reincarnation. I think this is class 9. If not, it's class 10. And we're on page 49. Okay, here's the classic text that we've all heard of before, and many people have heard it. Most people have heard it from the Hasidic view about sparks. What the heck are sparks? Holy sparks and everything. Here we're getting it from the Arizal, one of his innovations, which is a tremendous innovation that I think we've mentioned it. I think I've mentioned it before, that the people were after exile. How long were we in exile since this destruction of the Second Temple? I think it was in the 1600s. It was in the 1600s. So you're figuring how long was that, historical wise? When did we leave Israel? When were we kicked out at the Romans?
70 CE, 70.
Okay.
First century.
So you're looking at about over 1,000 years. Well over.
Yeah.
Well over.
16th century.
Right?
From one century. Yeah.
So you're looking at almost 1,600 years. 1,500 years.
Yeah.
So 1,500 years, you figure we were in exile. Right? The last exile, where we got kicked out of the land, was 70 years in Babylon. Okay? In Egypt. Okay, some people want to say 420 years, right? 400 years. We were supposed to be there 400 years, sorry. 400 years, we were actually there, according to the most people who counted. We were only there 210 years. Here we've been in exile for 1,500 years. What's the deal? Like, what's the, they're like, hello. People were actually starting to get very depressed. They're talking about the Orthodox. What?
Starting?
We were like, what's going on? Why haven't we been brought back? Where's Mashiach? Where's the redemption? We need the leader. Let's get the ball rolling. Nothing's happening. They were very, very depressed because, what's going to be? Is this the end? And the Arizal came out with this text and gave everybody a tremendous comfort. Tremendous comfort. He says, listen, folks, when Adam sinned, what happened was, all of the sparks of his soul blew out, exploded into all elements of the world, into all four corners of the earth. Parts of his spiritual body exploded into as many sparks going everywhere. And the idea really is, the job really is, the Jews had to go in exile to gather those sparks. So until all of the sparks are gathered, we don't go home. Never leave a good man behind. Right? So we're in a job, and the mission was to gather the sparks. Until once all the sparks are gathered, we go home. That's the redemption. So once he framed it in that it's about spark gathering, so then everybody put it into the concept, the perspective of, oh, okay. Now we can understand why this exile is so long. And that's what's still going on, because we're here to gather sparks. Okay? So once he said that, it brought a great sense of relief to all of the Jewish people. And then it gave them enough strength to go on until here we are. Which apparently we seem to be in a different state altogether. We're like, Gullus, exile? There's such a concept? We don't even know that we're in exile because we hear about it, we talk about it, but it's much deeper than we could possibly know. And that's why we have this Tuesday is the 10th of Tevet. It's a fast day. And this Tuesday, which is the 10th of Tevet, is a fast that really Nebuchadnezzar surrounded the walls. So really it's like the beginning, the root, the beginning of the end. The beginning of the destruction of the Second Temple, okay? Because Nebuchadnezzar surrounded the wall. I think he was in siege for about 3 years. And only then, at the 17th of Tammuz, years after that, did he breach the walls on the 17th of Tammuz. And then 3 weeks after that was where actually the temple was actually destroyed on the 9th of Av. But the 10th of Av marks the root of it.
10th of Tevet.
10th of Tevet, thank you. The 10th of Tevet actually marks the root of it deep enough, good enough, and really Rabbi Masri brought down, which I suspected, but I was really happy that he's brought it down, was the 10th of Tevet. If I get it wrong, you correct me. 10th of Tevet was the day that Yosef was sold. the day of the sale of Joseph, which is really the root of why we're still in exile to this day. It's what? That animosity between brothers. Okay? Still there. Still suffering from that. It's like there's two basic sins that we have been suffering from throughout history. In other words, every time there's a calamity among the Jewish people, there's an installment made against one of these two sins. Mostly the Gemara says it's an installment for the sin of the golden calf that we're still paying for. Big debt, right? And, we got what do you call the creditors, the credit card agencies? No, the collection agencies, right? The collections agencies are always there collecting, okay? And the other one is that we're still paying for is the sin of the sale of Joseph that is still occurring these days, that a Jew sells out another Jew, even if it's on the subtlest of terms, even if with just a bad thought, okay? Even if it was just a thought just to take down that Jew's honor is called selling of Joseph. Has to be fixed in a way that we absolutely love every single Jew like ourselves every single morning. And that you could look at every Jew, even the ones that have harmed you in the past, as if it wasn't them doing it, it was God doing it. And you have to just look at him square in the eye and say, it wasn't you, it was God. And it was for my benefit. Right? Can you imagine doing that? Yes, I can. Okay.
Not sure I can.
We're working there. Okay, here we go. So we're on page 49, the effect of the sin of Adam Harishon. Okay? The effect of the sin of Adam Harishon. So we say, the roots of all the souls, were in the nefesh, ruach, and neshama, that's the naran, of Adam Harishon, the first man. And when he sinned, he blemished the majority of them, and they fell into exile in the Klippa. Now, I focused on the word rov, majority. Okay? With respect to the concept of Gilgulim, in contrast to Ibur we've been discussing the past few weeks. In Ibur is like the impregnation of a soul while in the lifetime. And it could be that Tzaddik has passed from this world, and still there is a connection of influence that will ride or impregnate the soul, right? Or it could even be that we learned last week that Tzaddik, the righteous soul, is still alive somewhere in this planet somewhere. Hopefully not Cucamonga. Okay, I don't think so. I drove by Cucamonga last week. I'm like, is this Cucamonga? Rancho Cucamonga in California. Okay? In any case, wherever he might be in the world, his influence we have the ability to connect to that influence. Okay? If we do a certain mitzvah a certain way, like how he does it, we would have that connection, and it doesn't have to be you have to connect to every single one of this righteous person's actions, just one, and that makes the connection. Okay? So in any case, that's the Ibor that we've been discussing. And when he sinned, wait a minute, I'm going back. With respect to the concept of Gilgulim, in contrast to Ibor, we will begin with the discussion of Adam Harishon, the first man, to more easily grasp the matter. So the reading in the note, the name of the first man is, of course, Adam, which is also the generic Hebrew word for man or human. The term Harishon means the first. Adam Harishon is not only the character of Genesis and the first in the line of human beings, he is also the prototype of human beings, including within himself all the souls of his future descendants, just as a patriarch includes within himself in abstract potency the seed of all his future generations. So Adam, included within him, is all of the souls that are going to be. Okay? It said he had that light. He had the light, what we call the hidden light, that he was able to see every single one of his descendants. That's a lot of people. Not Jew and non-Jew. Okay? When Adam Harishon sinned, he blemished all of the sparks, which we call sparks. Here's your Hebrew, nitzutzot. Okay? He blemished all of the sparks of his nefesh, that's level 1, part of his soul, his ruach, and neshama. Just like a person's body contains many sparks throughout his 248 limbs and 365 sinews, and consequently there are many sparks in his head, in his eyes, and in every limb. It is the same with his nefesh as well. Okay, in other words, the way we look at it, let's read the note and then we'll get a bigger picture of this, okay? The 248 limbs and 365 tendons comprise the human body. And as such, they denote the form or the shape of the human body. The nefesh, okay, that's the body. If you cut the body in pieces, you can, in a spiritual sense, you'll cut it into 248 limbs and 365 sinews. Okay? The nefesh, now it's talking about the nefesh, which is the soul. The nefesh is in the same shape as the human body. More correctly said, this is what I love that my father-in-law said this, the human body is in the same shape as the nefesh. We say that every single thing in this world is nothing more than a shadow, a counterpart. I have other extra books here if you want to share with him. Okay? Here, 1 second. Put these here. Oh, by the way, if people can fill this out, okay? Just, they forgot to put that last week, okay? Okay, coming back here. So the nefesh is in the same shape as the human body. More correctly said, listen to this, the human body, our human body, is in the same shape as the nefesh. So really, our human body is formed after something in the spiritual roots. Every single thing we say in this physical world has its spiritual counterpart in the other dimensions. As a matter of fact, the other dimensions are really the root, and they're the root, and then the human body would be considered to be the branch or the outgrowth or what we would call the shadow of what's its counterpart is in the spiritual realm. So here, the nefesh, which is really the soul, is comprised of 248 mitzvot, positive, 365 negative. Or how he calls it, 248 limbs, 365 sinews. Okay? And those is what makes up a nefesh. You know, what you think is real is not really real. Okay? That's the bottom line. Every single thing about Kabbalah is to get you to understand that this world is not the real world. Okay? That there's spiritual things that we really have to connect to that's really considered to be the real world. Okay? And when we get that, okay, then we'll understand then we'll come in contact with a much more meaningful life. Okay? The body is composed of the holy sparks that are dispersed throughout it. That's your real body, not this. Okay? It's really the sparks that are behind everything, that give everything its animation. And with every one of its limbs, it is exactly the same with the nefesh, only more...
Ephemeral.
Thank you. Ephemeral. Okay? What does ephemeral mean? Anybody can...
Ethereal.
More spiritual, I'm going to say. Okay?
I think out of your body. Just things out of your body.
Right. Okay. When Adam Rishon sinned, he blemished... Now here it says all of the sparks. Okay? But that's not what the Hebrew text says. Okay? The Hebrew text says he blemished most of the sparks throughout the spiritual body of his nefesh and his ruach and neshama as well. To explain this, the Rav now digresses to a deep explanation of the Midrash. Okay? So like I told you at the beginning, when he sinned, the way that it's looked upon, the imagery is his sparks blew apart to all parts of the earth. That means different parts of the earth had a different body part. Okay? So classically, we always understand it as Egypt, which was the first place of exile, was the head of Adam. Okay? So when the Jewish people went down to Egypt, and they suffered there for the period of time, while they were there and going through everything they were going through, they were sucking the sparks of the head of Adam Arishon. And then when they left, of course, they brought the head back. They brought the head out of Egypt. Hence, once the sparks are gone from that country no longer exists as a superpower. Okay, that's why Egypt, you think Egypt was just going to live forever, that culture. I mean, everybody had a pet jaguar. Okay, who didn't, right? A pet jaguar was the only way to go. Okay. And every single thing that went along with their culture and their way of life, and they thought it was going to exist forever, it was so strong and mighty and so powerful. And boop, gone. Okay? And the same thing as we go historical-wise with every single place that we were at. It was a superpower. We left. They're gone. Right? Babylon, Spain, Poland was an empire. Poland was an empire. Taka. I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't know it, right? Because I only was raised on Polish jokes. Okay? Well, this Polak said this Polak, or I don't even remember any of them. But in any case, Poland was an empire, and now it is not. Germany was an empire. Now it is not. Right? Any place where we go and then we vacate the premises, right? So therefore that place ceases to be a superpower. Okay? America has yet to be reckoned with, okay?
We haven't left yet.
We haven't left yet, okay? Who knows how it's going to play out? It's going to be amazing to see, okay? Let's just go with that.
What about, like, they say China's going to be the next superpower?
What about what?
China, but there's not many Jews there.
That's where we'll move to.
China will not be a superpower. I can almost guarantee
They're
it.
falling apart.
Because they don't have sparks, unless we're buying them all from the little dollar store. Dollar store trinkets are elevating all the sparks without us going there.
Because they're God less communist, that's why.
How come they don't have any sparks? I don't know.
They do have sparks. Listen, there's two ways to elevate a spark. You can either do it from where you're sitting, or you have to go there. Okay? You can either go there, which sometimes Rabbi Nachman says, if you are invited to travel at some godforsaken place that you never want to travel, like Rancho Cucamonga, okay? Where is Rancho Cucamonga? It's in California, okay? If you're invited to go to some place for some weird reason, don't hesitate. Go there. Rabbi Nachman says, just don't sin when you go there. And he's going to explain it why in this text here. Yes, you can go. You can ask.
In the previous moment, in this week's Parsha in Chumash, in the commentaries, there is a commentary there that says that God sent Jacob, Israel, and the Jews to Egypt to redeem lost souls. What do you think that particular commentary was talking about? What lost souls were in Egypt, and why God sent Jews to Egypt?
What you're saying is great. You're saying there's a commentary that says about souls. So here you have the exact thing is equated. Sparks that he's talking about are souls. Souls are sparks. That seems to be what he's saying. Okay? Because as we see, every single one of those sparks of Adam becomes one of us. We're a body part. Each one of us came from a body part of Adam. Okay? Or a spark of a body part. Let's say you have a body part, you have the right arm, and you have many sparks are in that right arm. Each one of those sparks is a soul. It's one of us. Okay? Or a shoot off of one of those. Okay? So when he went to go and redeem the souls, that's it. Okay? It's all about that. Okay? Okay, so going on. The Midrash Tanchuma and the Midrash Rabbah provide an explanation for the verse that comes from Eov. Everybody knows that famous, everybody loves the book of Eov. I know you guys always want to relish in it and chill out in the book of Eov. I like that look right there. That's right, exactly. Like, what? That dude suffered for absolutely no reason whatsoever, right? That's the most puzzling book in all of the Bible, okay? So in any case, the idea really is because he suffered.
Was that Job?
Job, sorry, I said it in Hebrew. The book of Job, correct. So the book of Job, as we know, it's like nobody knows the whole story of Job. You just read that book and going like, dude, how, dude. That's the only expression that I'm from California, right? So in any case, he suffered massively, of course. His family, his businesses, it ended up being his body, suffered with boils, just immense suffering, okay? And of course, towards the end here in chapter 38, Job does here. Let's just read the note here. Job is complaining about his lot. He doesn't curse God, but he complained. He go like, dude, okay? So, and arguing with God. It's like, what's your story? So God answers him. He says, where were you when I founded the earth? That was the start, the beginning of a huge, long expose on where were you in the very beginning of creation? In other words, do you know every single thing in all of the whole expanse of creation, especially referring to the beginning, which means what? In other words, God is answering that Job has no right to question him unless he also knows from what part of the soul of Adam, the spark that constitutes Job's soul, originally came from. In other words, do you know which body part of Adam that you originated from? Where were you when I founded the earth? If he does not know from where his soul was hewn, as much like a quarry, like a stone that is hewn from a quarry, then he does not know his own history. Consequently, he can never fully understand the things that are happening to him. You don't know. Because the tikkun of every single one of those parts of Adam, we're all in the path of fixing. All of us are hooking up to a huge network, okay, of a huge conduit of infinite light that we are all part of becoming, okay? So we all have to fix our square inch of our life in order to eventually hook it up to the main board, the motherboard, okay, to that it will eventually be this unbelievable huge conduit of infinite light, a reflection of the infinite light in the perfect way that it's supposed to be. But right now, you're responsible to fix your square inch, which means your little life in your, what we call it, the Dalet Amos, which is like basically your immediate experience in your daily life. But we don't know the previous lives from where we came from, and what is totally necessary in order to get us to that point of final rectification, final tikkun. Okay? Actually, the Midrash starts off by quoting from a verse in Ecclesiastes, that which was, it was already called by name. Actually, this whole Midrash is referring to Betzalel, that we say that Karasi b'shem Betzalel, I have called the name Betzalel. God was referring to when he wanted to build the tabernacle. That he says, I have called Karasi b'shem Betzalel, meaning I've given this guy, here's this guy who's going to build the tabernacle. I've already designated his name from the way past in the very beginning. Way in Adam Arishon's original whole schematics. Everybody had their name even from that beginning, okay? Everybody, okay? And every single thing that you need was already pre-programmed, way into the soul of Adam in the Garden of Eden, okay? So that which was, it was already called by name, referring to Betzalel from the beginning. And it is known that it is Adam. In other words, Betzalel came from Adam. In other words, all that exists was already called by name from the beginning. And that beginning is the source, is Adam Arishon when he was created. We all created from Adam Arishon when Adam was a lifeless lump. Okay? In the language it brings down lifeless lump. Mutal b'golem. He was a golem. A sitting golem. What is a golem? You ever heard the word golem before?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Right?
It's like a clay man that walks around but can't talk and has no soul.
There you go. Okay, it has a soul because it's moving. Just what kind of soul does it have?
Doesn't have a divine soul.
Okay, because it can't talk, right? So here, but God can do anything. So he took Adam. Here it says, look at the note. When Adam was a lifeless lump, the Holy One, blessed is He, showed him every righteous person who would ever descend from him, from his head, his hair, his neck, his 2 eyes, and some from his nose, ... The full text of the Midrash Rabbah relevant to here has been inserted here. The Hebrew words for lifeless lump are mutal golem, which means, the word golem, which means lump, like a lump of clay. Will be familiar from the stories of the creature that was made by the Maharal of Prague. Is anybody familiar with the Maharal of Prague's golem? Okay? The community was in the Jewish community in Prague was in danger because they were doing a lot of those blood libels. They were they were digging up a Christian child and and hiding him underneath a Jewish house in the middle of the night, right, to frame the Jews. It's called a blood libel. And they would go in the town the next morning and go, "Where's my son? They took my son. I'm telling you, they're taking our Jewish children, our Christian children, for their blood, for the matzahs. Come follow me, I know where he is." And they would go and they would dig up the house, they would find the body, and they would blame the Jews, and then all kinds of calamities would happen to the Jews. The Maharal, this was happening predominantly. He did what's called a dream request. Okay? A dream request is a certain practical Kabbalistic ritual you could do. Anybody can do it. I could teach you how. Okay, if you have a big question, you could do it yourself. Okay, that you could do this dream request, and you have to do is meditate on certain names, think about the question, and go to sleep. And in your dream, you'll get the answer. So he got the dream, he got the answer in his dream. That was basically make a man out of clay, and he'll protect the city. So he, of course, had all of the wisdom that he needed, and he had his students with him, and they went to a place in the middle of the night. He told his students to prepare, because in a week from now, we're going out in the middle of the night to a place where there's virgin soil, and we're doing this. So you guys prepare. They were frightened out of their wits, his students. Went to the mikveh, said Tehillim, did everything they could, right? And then, of course, he led them in the middle of the night, and then the Maharal carved a man out of clay. There was a stick in the ground. Each one went around in a circle saying certain letters and letter permutations in the meditations. Okay? I believe there were, one was earth, wind. The golem was already earth, so he needed a student for the wind. No, the fire, the water, and then he was the spirit. Okay? So anyways, every single one was adding an element, and therefore basically came up this living thing out of clay. Okay? And the living thing out of clay, they said, had 3 letters written on its forehead, Aleph, Mem, and Taf, Emet, right? This man out of clay could not talk, and basically was only used for his purposes. He told his wife, "We only use him for the holy purposes. Do not ask him to do anything." Right? And never ask him, right? And he would lie on the couch in the rabbi's office until they needed him for something. And of course, at night he would go patrolling, making sure there's no people trying to bury dead bodies in the Jewish quarter. And he caught several times, did several rescues, pretty dramatic. Okay, people knew about. I'm talking about even the Gentiles of the community knew about this. Okay, terrified.
They would kill their own children and then bury them.
No, they took a freshly dead kid, let's say, who died of a sickness. They wouldn't kill their own kid for it, but they took a dead, or the Christians would either dig up from a grave somebody freshly dead, or took somebody who was sick, whatever they would do to get this going, right? In any case, so he would go patrolling. Okay, he couldn't speak, but it was quite massive and quite strong and indestructible. This is where Mary Shelley got the Frankenstein monster from, the story. I'm telling you, the Gentiles, I knew I would go and study with this person in Jerusalem, a Jewish man, and he lived in Prague. He would go ahead and do businesses in Prague. And he had a cleaning lady there, and he once sent the cleaning lady, "Can you just do me a favor? I want to bring a trinket. Go when you go by the store in the village, pick up a little one of those golem dolls, right? Look at that, it's tourism, okay? So pick up a golem doll and bring it because I want to bring it to Israel." She was like so terrified because she was handed down from her parents and her parents and her parents and her parents. You're talking about Gentiles, terrified, wouldn't go near the store, wouldn't touch it, wouldn't have anything to do with it. Okay? So apparently even among the Gentile tradition, they have this story.
They have that story in Iran too.
They made a movie of it in Germany.
There you go. Okay, so the idea really was, okay, that this man, okay, so in any case, here's just two little side bits. Of course, the woman, the mother, the wife, was told emphatically, don't ask him for anything. Of course, she needed to fill up the bath for the Rebbe's bath on Saturday night. He liked a hot bath. She was busy with other things, asked him to do it. And of course, what happened? He would go to the well, fill up the buckets, and put it in the bath. Of course, she didn't tell him to stop, when to stop. So, of course, the entire house flooded. Here's where you get the whole Mickey Mouse wizard thing of Fantasia, where the brooms kept filling the buckets. That's where they got it from, okay? They got it from us, okay? Because, so in any case, and then, of course, in the end, of course, they basically, when it was basically done and they didn't need the golem anymore, he erased the first letter of the Aleph Mem Tut that was written on his forehead, which the letters remained mate. The soul, mate means death. Dead, the soul left the body and his there's a lifeless lump that was in the attic, so to speak, of the synagogue for many, many years, generations, I think. And there are many other stories that the Nazis were going to go up to the attic, and the staircase broke, and all of these 9 Nazis fell down and died. No one would go up there anymore. No one dared. It was frightening. But meanwhile, I think they said the shul, that wasn't even the shul. The shul was down the street. A lot of confusion, whatever it is, okay? Take it as it is. People, I'll tell you just one little tidbit here. Aryeh Kaplan. He lived in the last generation, who was a master also of the Kabbalistic arts. Went to one student of mine, and a person who I knew, right? And the guy says, "What, you think it's hard to make a golem? Come by me on Sunday," right? So he was going to show him. I don't know what he was going to show him, okay? But in any case, the guy was too frightened. He didn't go, okay? He says, "There's no way I'm going to go," because he was afraid. So in any case, so even people, they say these days, can still do it, but of course we don't know these people or where they are, okay? And of course, they don't want to do it for given reasons, okay? In any case, that's just the idea of a golem. Just to let you know, it's a lifeless lump, okay? We do say, I'm going to just throw a little musar out, because it's always good to give a little musar. We always love it, right? Something that you can put into the practical purposes of all this stuff, right? It says that there are... in Pirkei Avos, chapters of the Father, ethics of the Fathers, it says there's 7 things by a Chacham and 7 things by a Golem. 7 character traits by a wise man, and the opposite is by a Golem, meaning unformed mass. In other words, you're either a Chacham or you're a Golem. So one of them is, and you're going to love this one, okay? I'm just going to bring down one. I'm not going to list all 7. One of them is interrupting somebody in the middle of a speech. Of a sentence. When you interrupt, you are a golem. Okay? In other words, a wise man always lets the person finish, and then they'll respond. So if you ever see in any White House interviews, okay, press conferences where there's interrupting going on, golem. Okay, so let's move on. Okay? Whoever, I didn't say who. All I just said is anybody who interrupts anybody, golem. Okay? And for us, have patience, let the person finish, don't interrupt. Okay, yeah.
How can you discern that from impulsivity?
What do you mean impulsivity?
Like, some have a preponderance for impulsivity that, like with me personally, like I get an idea that just kind of flashes, and then it's like, I'm afraid if I don't say anything about it, then I'll forget it.
So that's a fear of forgetting. So therefore, if you have a pen and paper, you can write it down, and you're good to go. Exactly it. I'm telling you.
That's why everybody hated me in classes.
If you raise your hand and he's willing to go ahead and he break and call on you, that's fine. But interrupt in the middle of his speech, Like he's mid-sentence, what do you mean about that? And you're going to go like that. Well, what are you talking about? You just interrupted this guy's thought. Okay, so you have to let the person finish. Now, so in other words, if you want to raise your hand and he calls on you, that's derech eretz. That's called the ways of the world. That's the way things should be. But to interrupt, I'm talking about mid-sentence or whatever his thought is, that's called interrupting.
We have someone in this class that does that, but he's not here
That
today.
was the point.
Okay, enough. Sorry about that, okay? But you have to know what's a golem, okay? Because Adam Arishon was a golem. Because it says in the verses, he formed out of the dust a body. And then he breathed into his breath, his nose, the neshama, the breath of life. So first he started off as a lump of clay. Yes.
Why does it only talk about the head of Adam? What about the rest of it?
We're still trying to figure that out because, something, buddy? I do not know what body part that California is. Okay? Or definitely Houston, Texas. Okay? The rest of them, we don't know. They don't have it. I have never seen any text in tradition that speaks that Babylon was the heart, which maybe could be. And Spain, who was the left foot. I don't know. There's no tradition. We do know that the head was Egypt. Okay? Everything follows the head. Okay? So the word golem means lump, which would be familiar with the stories of the creatures made by the Maharal of Prague, whereas God breathed into the lifeless lump that was Adam. This is in the Garden of Eden, the spirit of life. The Maharal imbibed the spirit of life into a lifeless lump by the use of holy names. The implication of the word mutal, which means lying around, is that he was lying around lifeless. And the Midrash is focusing upon the moment when life was breathed into him, when the living soul began to inspire him. In other words, it is the moment when Adam was created, the very first moment. Concerning that time, it is written, and the Lord God formed the man out of the dust of the ground, and he breathed into him a living soul. It was the same moment that God manifested the potential of all the human souls that would ever to be born. At that very moment, when he opened his eyes and he breathed, every single person that was going to be born was created right then and built into the hard drive of creation. Okay? His ruach is also divided in this way as his neshama. From the sparks that comprised all the various limbs of the nefesh, ruach, and neshama of Adam were descended the souls of all the people that would exist throughout human history. When he sinned, he blemished the majority of the sparks of his nefesh, ruach, and neshama, causing them to be immersed in the klipot. Okay, here's the famous word klipot. You always have to know. Okay? Klipot literally means husks. Here he says in the note, the klipot are the husk or shells that imprison the fallen holy sparks. Okay? Within all physical matter are buried, hidden, holy sparks. And when we say a blessing over the orange or the fruit, we are doing an amazing mitzvah of, we call it pidyon nefesh. We are redeeming a lost soul that is within that fruit. Okay? You are releasing the imprisoned. Okay? When Adam sinned, the holy sparks of his nefesh, ruach, and neshama fell into the klipot. That means the physical world. Okay? Adam was an astral body. And all of those sparks then became congealed along with Adam's body. And they became dispersed into the physical realm that we are experiencing today. It's klipa. Everything is klipa. Okay? The concept of klipa, in the sense it is being used here, refers to the entire realm of evil into which the souls and the divine presence has been exiled. This realm is the mirror image of the realm of holiness, of kedusha, but it is the depths of spiritual impurity. Now, in other words, basically everything physical, you can take it and use it for evil purposes. You can also use it for holy and spiritual purposes. It all depends upon your intention when you're approaching this or your relationship to it. Okay? That's what the klipot can go. There's, like we said, there's 4 different kinds of klipot, as we know from the people who learn and study the Tanya. Okay? Klipas noga is basically the mixture of good and evil. And then the other 3 klipot, ruach sa'ara, anan gadol, and eish mitlakachat, are the realms of evil. I'll translate them, okay? Just let me translate them first, okay? The other realms are completely evil, which are basically, we call it the storm wind, the great cloud, and the consuming fire. Yes?
So we go and do both, those are animal souls. Do the Jews and non-Jews have different animal souls?
Say that again, please.
Well, Kippot is an animal soul, right?
Not only.
But do Jews and non-Jews have different Kippot?
Yes. So we say that the non-Jews, Gentiles, come from the other three, and the Jews come from Klipas Noga. Now, what does it mean by that? That Gentiles come from the other three? It means, that doesn't mean that there's tremendous holiness in there. As a matter of fact, that's the goal of what we're supposed to be doing, is we're supposed to be drawing those and leading those nations as the light unto the nations to praise God and have a relationship with God. So what we say by the Gentile souls come from those klipot, which means it's very concealed. The light within them is very, very hard to reveal it. It's very hard to see, very concealed, okay? But that doesn't mean it's not there, okay? Questions? Anan Gadol, the great cloud, and the Eish Mitlakachat, that's consuming fire. Yeah.
So,
Eish Mitlakachat, like Lokeach. It buys you. Hey, buy this. It's all your billboard signs, basically. Coke. Go buy Coke. Takes you. Captivates you. Everybody has a different relationship to them. Yes.
so those are actually the ones, like, we're to work on the 7 midot or whatever, which are reflected of the Sephira or Sephirot. But the 3 that we're not able to work on that are of the mind are represented in the klipot of the other nations.
No. Those 3 klipot, okay? If you want to get into it in a deep way, right? So you have the 7 of the 10 klipot, the first 3, right? We can't deal with till Mashiach comes. It's not called, I wouldn't call it those. Okay? Even though it's an interesting idea, I'll have to think about it. Lobster is klipas, is the klipa. We're not allowed to eat lobster. Okay? It's a tumadika animal. It's completely defiled. We're not allowed. A cow, on the other hand, if it's kosher, selected properly, right? Then it becomes, you can elevate it. It becomes elevated. That's klipas noga, that animal. So different animals can come from different realms. You understand? Different klipot. It's not so you can have animals in klipas noga, okay? Which is the kosher animals that you can elevate. You can eat it, as opposed to all of the creepy crawlers, the pork, camel, all those other animals come from klipas noga. We don't touch them. We can't. Our point is not to touch them right now. No.
Pig is going to become kosher when Mashiach comes.
I heard that you're involved in genetically engineering the pig that's going to chew its cud. As soon as they genetically engineer a pig to chew its cud, then it probably will be kosher.
Really? There is a pig.
There you go. I don't think so. But anyways, if they do such a thing, then it's fine. If it would have 2 signs, then it's kosher. Until then, you're right. In the days of Mashiach, the pig will be kosher. So I don't know how that's going to work. I did have a dream once where I was going into the hall where the pig was kosher. Okay? So I was like, oh, that's okay. I told my father-in-law, I says, Okay. So, okay. So we have, you have to understand, Zulu Matzu Asa Elokim, Hashem made this one corresponding to all the realms of holiness and the potential of light. There is equal on the dark side of the force. There always has to be this system of balance, okay? So this is the sod of what has been written in Sefer HaTikunim on the verse. Here's a much deeper idea here. From the Tikkun Zohar, but it leads us to this idea of our mission, and it helps us to connect to our mission in a spiritual sense, okay? So it says, like a bird that wanders from her nest, okay? So the idea really is in the Hebrew, okay? Ketsipor nodedet min hakane. Like the bird that wanders from the nest, like Shulach HaKan, okay? What is the bird? What is the nest? Okay, the nest which is used in this text as the Beit HaMikdash. Okay, in other words, the Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple that stood in Jerusalem, the divine presence was there. What happened when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed? The divine presence went into exile. Okay? The divine presence is exiled amongst the klipot. That means it's hidden. It's very concealed in the world. It's not in her. She is not in her place. The souls of the righteous tzaddikim are exiled with her and wander after her from place to place. Okay? So there's the souls of the righteous, their mission is, and includes all of us. Okay? Whether you like it or not. Okay? Everybody has unbelievable holy sparks within them. And we are all on a mission. And the mission is go and get the Shekhinah back. Okay? Believe it or not, and this is a huge topic. As a matter of fact, the entire Tikkunei Zohar is all about our relationship with the Shekhinah, the divine presence, the holy sparks that are in everything, the connection of holiness, the divine experience. You have a question?
No. What does the word her stand for? Her.
Where?
Her. H-E-R?
Her is the Shekhinah, the divine presence, which basically is your dynamic, divine experience. In other words, everybody is looking for something. Everybody wants an aha. Does everybody? You're all here because you want the aha, or do you not? We all come to learn Torah because we want the aha. Everybody in the entire world is looking for the aha. You know what I mean by aha? You know, Lori knows what I mean. Right. Aha! I got it.
Right.
Is that an Oprah thing? My dad has it before Oprah.
Right.
My dad, his website is aha.com. Go figure. Okay? So, because everybody wants the aha. Okay?
Right.
Everybody's looking for an aha. The aha is in exile. Because we want aha all the time. Okay? You can't live with aha all the time, but yes, you can. But anyways, we'll get to that at a later class. Okay?
What did you just say about our dynamic divine experience is what?
The Shekhinah. You connecting with the Shekhinah is your personal, dynamic, divine experience that we're all after every moment of our lives, except we think we can get it in the soap opera.
Yeah.
We think we can get it in, oh yes, we can. We love soap opera. We think we can get it in whatever. We think we can get it from this song or with this movie or going to this pub, this bar, traveling to Cambodia. Why do people have a bug in them to go and travel? It just astounds me. No, we're not invited. All of a sudden, a person gets in their mind, I think I want to go to Cambodia and look for Charlie. Okay? So the idea, whatever. My mom went to Cambodia. I'm like going, what are you going there? I want to go to Vietnam. What are you going there for? Okay? So you're looking for Charlie. I'm like, the idea really here is we're all looking for some kind of level of connection. And it goes upon our minds to go to these places, and we look here and we look there, and we think it's going to come from this glass of beer, this glass of wine, this shot of whiskey, this whatever drug, whatever it is. We think it's going to come from X, Y, or Z, and it's really not in those things, and really comes to the story of the lost princess, that of those of you who do not know the story of the lost princess, most of you don't, okay? You have to go and look it up, okay? Google it as soon as you leave this class and read it. You can get it online. I might even have it on tape on one of my SoundClouds. The entire story of the Lost Princess, where the Viceroy is constantly looking for years and years and years and falling here and falling there and trying to get that lost princess out of exile, right? Which basically is us. We are the Viceroy, and we are searching for the lost princess. And it's not a long story, but it's a very, very deep story. Okay?
Give us a synopsis.
Rabbi,
I can't give you the synopsis now.
Okay.
he gave you the synopsis. How about when you suddenly realize,
Sorry.
and again, and you can realize it at any moment, again and again. It's amazing.
Good. You stay amazed. That's good. Shekhinah's with you. Stay with it. Stay there. Okay? Most of us are clawing. Okay? And we're lost. because we're stuck in our habits of Facebooking, and we think another, maybe a little bit more, and I'll find that spark. Okay? Okay? Like a bird wanders from her nest, but here, the souls of the righteous tzaddikim are exiled with her and wander after her from place to place. The souls of the tzaddikim come from the sparks of the various limbs of Adam Arishon's spiritual bodies. These correspond to the limbs of the body of the Shekhinah, the divine presence. To whatever level in the realm of the klipot she descends, they descend with her. They're going to go get her because that is the name of the game. Go fetch. Okay? The place where the sparks are exiled in the realm of the klipot is according to the aspect of the soul of Adam, from which they have come. If they have come from the head, then they are exiled into the head of the klipot, meaning these souls are exiled into the head of the klipot. Mm-hmm. If they come from the eyes, meaning that spark of Adam Harishon blew apart, and that area, that body part, if you could look at it don't get too graphic in your mind's eye, blew to some place. Okay, so those souls are going to go in exile into the realm of the eye. And then they're going to elevate it, okay? And then, so then they go to the exile, to the place of the eye of where Adam was cast. It's not necessarily a physical place, okay? This is the sort of the idea of the exile of the souls that is mentioned here. I'm just going to give you a little tidbit because we're going to end in a few minutes, okay? Let me just finish this paragraph and then. The spiritually impure world is a mere version of the spiritually pure world, except in an unholy and impure way. Thus, when the souls fell into the world of impurity, they fell to the level that correspond to their own, wherever they come from. For example, the souls that are derived from the sparks of the eyes of Adam's nefesh fell into the klipot of the eyes of the nefesh. If they fell from the thighs of the ruach, then they fell into the thighs of the ruach of the klipot. It is from their place of exile in the klipot that the soul sparks must be redeemed. Okay? So just to give you a little bit of another tidbit, besides body parts and wherever they've flown to and whatever, you have to get a sense now of yourself. What are your challenges in this world? Everybody has different challenges. Everybody has different challenges, okay? Some people just can't overcome anger. Some people have a problem with a different character trait. Some people get triggered different things, depression, whatever it is. A person has to be in tune with whatever it is, because it could be that's the body part of Adam that they fell to. And that's what you have to elevate. That's your special mission, that you have to go ahead and fight and overcome those things. It's all part of a huge, big plan. Now, interestingly enough, we talked about Adam's sins, okay, and his nefesh, ruach, and his neshama. Now, the main part of the nefesh, ruach, and neshama were fixed. However, 3 patriarchs fixed those parts of Adam's soul. Avraham Avinu fixed his nefesh. He fixed a big part, a major part of the nefesh of Adam. That's why through him and his descendants became incumbent what's called tikkun olam, fixing the world. Okay? In other words, the nations in general had the opportunity to repair and bring back all those sparks. Okay? But too many generations went, Tower of Babel, you had the flood, they couldn't do it. So Avram picked up the banner, fixed the nefesh of Adam, and then became incumbent upon him and his generations and every seed that came after him to fix mankind. So he fixed the nefesh. Yitzchak fixed the ruach, level 2. And Yaakov Avinu fixed the neshama, okay, of Adam. Now, the interesting dynamic is, we know this in an amazing kind of way, that we had in this week's Parsha, because I always like to tie it in something into the Parsha that you could walk away with, okay? There was a big question that was asked. Many asked, here's Joseph, he became the viceroy, awesome position, right? Second in command. Why didn't he tell his father, I'm alive? Send a message, carrier pigeon, smoke screen, send a messenger. Come on. He couldn't tell him that I'm alive, I'm here. And there's many, many answers. I'm discussing it still with many people. different answers. Maybe he was upset at his father for giving him the coat and making him to be elevated and making the brothers jealous. Maybe it's because he thought his father was actually involved somewhat in the sale himself. Maybe because there's a bigger reason, for whatever little reasons you come up with why Yosef did not tell him. The bigger picture was, and then there's a bigger picture to that bigger picture. The bigger picture was that all the time that Yaakov Avinu was away with his uncle Lavan, he was away for 22 years. He did not fulfill the mitzvah of honoring your mother and father. Right? Not a letter, not a phone call. Not a phone call. What? What am I? An enemy? You can't call me for 22 years. Right? Well, my chopped liver. Okay? So he did, because of that, measure for measure, Yosef was gone away from him for 22 years. Still, it's kind of harsh. Okay? 22 pays for the 22. But you have to look at the bigger picture of it. And the bigger picture is something so phenomenal. Okay? Is that you could say that Yosef knew that his father needed to be in this state of exile for 130 years. Why? Why 130 years did Yaakov Avinu have to suffer? Don't forget, when he finally stood in front of Paro, and Paro looked at him, right?
Asked him his age. He
says, "Man, you old. How old you be?" Right? So he says, my days were, I suffered. And basically, for every one of those words, years of his life were taken off. You know that?
Yeah.
And they count the words, and they're going it doesn't add up. It says, no, because his face engendered the question, the words of Paro's question even went into the account. Okay? But the last 17 years of Yaakov Avinu's life were golden. Yeah. So what was these 130 years was fixing Adam Arishon's neshama.
Separation from Eve, no?
Yes, when he separated from Chava, he separated from his wife for 130 years. We say that what happened during those time, he gave birth to those hybrid entities. Yeah, my favorite. Lil and Nam came with 2 bottles of cerveza and tequila, and it was like a party. And it was in his neshama aspect. It said there was seed that was spilled, and from those the seed that was spilled in the 130 years gave birth to all these hybrid entities, that needed a big fixing. Okay? The demons. Okay? Those 130 years needed to get fixed. So Yaakov Avinu had to suffer 130 years to fix Adam Harishon's neshama. Okay? That's why he had to go suffer. That's why, in a higher level, why Yosef, maybe he knew, I'm just saying, throwing out an answer there, he had the prophecy. Listen, he had the prophecy to go ahead and give every single person in Egypt a bris milah. What was he thinking there? Rashi says it explicitly. When everybody needed food, he said, you want food? Bris milah. We got doctors here and physicians. We got all the medical equipment. Your appointment is Tuesday on the 3 o'clock, and you're supposed to appear there for your bris milah. And these are Egyptians going, has he gone crazy? He's gone cuckoo. And they went to Paro, and they're going with the pickets. They were protesting, right? CNN. And Paro says, you got to do what he said. Because he knew where those souls came from. Those souls came from the 130 years of the sparks of divinity that Adam, spilled those seed.
The Egyptians didn't have circumcision before?
No.
They do now because they're Muslim.
No, they did not. They did not. Because it was even if they did, it wasn't, this is the law. Right? So, in any case, why? Because Joseph saw the souls of these people, and he wanted to fix them. This was trying to fix them. This is what the Arizal says. I'm not making this up. You right? The Arizal Joseph saw in them, okay, this generation needs that fixing. Everybody's got to do it because it's part of that circumcision. It's a bris, the Holy Covenant fix.
So the people who say that Avram Avinu learned about circumcision when he visited Egypt are wrong?
I've never heard that before. First time I'm hearing that right now, that Avram Avinu learned circumcision thing. He had a whole dialogue with all of his buddies. He had 3 buddies when God says you have to circumcise yourself, and God was not specific. It's like, do I circumcise my lips? Do I circumcise my heart? Or do I circumcise the part? So he went to his buddies, right? And one buddy says, go for it. So the buddy who said, go for it, so Eshkol, right? They named the tree of the whole area of Eshkol was like after him. It was a big thing, right? So because he did that, so therefore, he had a merit in that. So, that was part of that. But that was different. This is like, you understand how Yosef, obviously he has his hand on the pulse. So it could be that his hand was on the pulse. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Why he never wrote to his father or sent a message, because that 130 years needed to get fixed. Okay, you can always say it's hashgacha also, God's providence, that he made it to be that way. But in any case, that's why Yaakov Avinu suffered those 130 years. And the last 17 years were golden. Okay? So you understand that Adam Orishon's soul was kind of quasi-fixed, his nefesh, his ruach, his neshama, by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? And they're also fixing humanity in a general way. Okay, we'll stop here for now, and we'll continue Emir Hashem next week. I'll keep going. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
Well, we're getting back to the Maharal. So when I was in Prague, so I actually went to the Jewish section.